Hey everyone, I'm Anne-Marie. Welcome to the Hello Basque YouTube channel where I talk all about different things having to do with Basque culture. Today's video is giving you my final verdict, my recap of a Basque language boarding school I did in the Basque Country this summer. I spent about a month at 2 different boarding schools trying to increase my Basque language skills. This is the second video I'm doing giving you my final thoughts on the Barnetegi, the Basque language boarding school I went to in a small village in Iparralde, the northern Basque Country, the French Basque Country if you will. The town is called Urepel. I already did another video on this topic, so if there's anything in this video that you still have questions by the end of it, go back and watch that video. I'll link in the description below so you can hopefully get a bigger picture. But today's video, I just want to give you my final thoughts and basically just go through my likes and dislikes about the program and let you know if I would recommend you do it too if you're looking to do a Basque language boarding school experience in the Basque Country. These are all my personal thoughts and opinions, my personal experience of this program I did. And I think like anything else, it probably depends on when you go, who you meet when you go, but this has just been my experience. So first things first, a little overview of the program. It was only 10 days, so 2 weeks back to back, Monday through Friday, and it was a boarding school. So it was 6 hours of class a day, and all meals were included, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we also slept at the school during our time there, so it was like a dorm situation, and we had the option to stay over the weekend in between the 2 weeks, or we could go home. I'll talk about that more in a second. So 10 days total of instruction. At the time that I went, so summer of 2021, there were about 30 students. And I was told that that's actually like a large number. It was an unusual year for them. Someone told me that they usually get more like 15 students for their summer intensive programs. And I don't know if that had to do with the pandemic. Maybe people are more into language learning or looking for more like local staycation type things to do with travel restrictions. So that may not be typical, but at the time that I went in July 2021, there were 30 students, and that was over different levels. There was beginners levels classes, advanced beginners, which is what I was in. There was an intermediate and an advanced class. And the whole point of this Basque boarding school, like many others, is that it was all Basque all the time. So the idea was that the instruction was all in Basque, the meals were all in Basque. So the idea was that everything we were doing was to practice our Basque speaking and comprehension. So that was the reason I really wanted to go check it out. I specifically wanted to go to this boarding school in Urepel because it is one of the few, there's only 2 as far as I know at the making of this video, in Iparralde, the northern Basque Country, which is the part of the Basque Country where my dad is from. So if you're new to the channel, my dad does speak Basque. He is from the Basque Country. I grew up here in the US, hence the way I speak English. And so I was really curious to learn a little bit more of his local dialect, I guess. I mean, the school wasn't teaching that, but I've been learning standardized Basque on my own for a few years. So I just wanted to go and get a little bit of like local flavor that hopefully I thought would help me communicate with my dad. The Barnetegi in Urepel specifically is only offered in the summertime. It was literally hosted in the village's primary school, elementary school, and so we were pretty much studying at a children's school and living at this campus and eating in their cafeteria. Last but not least, people always want to know about the price of this program. When I went, it was in total 652 euros that I paid. I paid a 100 euro deposit, and then the balance was for the tuition of the course, which included room and board, and also an extra fee to sign up for AEK, which is the organization that runs these summer boarding schools. This organization also does the Basque language night classes in Iparralde, and so yeah, so there was a subscription fee. I think if you're local to the area, it probably gets you some benefits, but as a foreigner, it was just something extra I had to pay. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about some things that I really liked about the program. Number 1, it hit my goal. I was trying to learn local words to Baxenafarroa, which is the Basque province my dad is from, and I definitely did that. I learned a lot of local vocabulary, local expressions. The teacher that I had, he spoke a lot of Basque, and he spoke his natural Basque. So as far as I could understand, I don't think he adjusted the way he speaks Basque. I don't think he changed the way he speaks Basque to standardized Basque. It seemed like he was really speaking his natural speech and instructing us in local vocabulary. So he would offer maybe like, oh, okay, in Egualde, the southern Basque Country, in Euskadi, in different Basque provinces, they might say it this way, but here in this Basque province, this is the way we say it. So that was really interesting for me, and I took tons of notes, and that was really valuable, and it was really what I was looking to get out of the experience. So 10 out of 10 for that. The teacher I had was really helpful. Early on in the course, he mentioned that the way verbs are conjugated in that area is different from standardized Basque. Most of the other people in my class seemed to know what he was talking about, but I followed up with him later before I left, and I asked him if he had any sort of instructional material so I could see what he was talking about, verb charts, because I knew if I went home and I asked my dad like to write me a verb chart and like conjugations, like he never went to school in Basque, so I didn't think he'd be able to help me with that. But luckily I had a really nice teacher who gave me all sorts of handouts and like conjugations for me to study, so that was really great. The program, even though it was pretty short, they also did some fun activities to kind of break up the classroom, the instructional time. We went on a local guided hike of the town. There was a mountain. We kind of walked around as a whole group, so the whole 30 people plus the teachers, we all went out and saw the town. That was really nice. We ended up at a local bar just hanging out, chatting with the proprietors in Basque, which was really cool. One beautiful sunny afternoon, my teacher took the class outside. We all drove down to the next town and set up outside at the patio of a bar, and we had class over drinks, which was nice to mix things up. So there were these little excursions that were kind of nice to get out of the classroom. And so there were opportunities too to talk with local people who live in the town and kind of get a feel for the way they speak Basque, and listening to that was really interesting. Urepel, the town itself, was really beautiful. It's very remote. I mean, I'm a city person, so to me it felt very remote. It's a town of like 300 people, and it's one of the last towns up in the Pyrenees Mountains before crossing over the Spanish border. So it's like way up there, and so you're surrounded by green, beautiful mountains in the summertime. It was really nice, really pretty. We barely had any rain, so it was just really, really beautiful up there. And so that was really nice to like wake up every day and like look out on the mountains. And I would go for like walks in town and in the mountains on my break time. So that was really, really kind of special for me. With that, it was a bit remote, but I did appreciate that they did have public transportation options. Coming from the US, I was really nervous that I would have to like get a taxi or something up the mountain, but they do have like a little shuttle bus that went from a train station lower down in the valley that would take you up the mountain. Of course, there weren't like tons of times. It was only specific times of the day, but I really appreciated that it was somewhat accessible in that way. Even though I think I was the only one in the entire program who did that, because everybody else was local and had their own cars. Speaking of everybody else in the program, the students in my class and in the school in general, because there were only 30 of us and we shared all our meals together, I really got a chance to speak to everyone there, I think, in some capacity. And everyone I talked to was super friendly, super patient with, you know, my lower level Basque speaking, really, I don't know, supportive, and just, I really enjoyed, you know, being in an environment where everyone's there to learn and people are helpful. I really struggle with finding the right verb conjugations on the first try. Eventually, if you like wait a minute, I'll figure it out, but it was nice to have more advanced students to kind of help with that, not in like a annoying way, you know, people are just really helpful. So I really enjoyed some of the people that I met there and my classmates. So those are the things I liked about it. I will preface this section of the video to let you know there were a lot of things about this program I did not like. A lot of these things are specific to me as a person, so I'm just gonna share that with you. And some of these things really maybe aren't the fault of the program itself. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing with you my experience, how I experienced it. So hopefully if you're out there, you can kind of figure out if this is relevant to you, if you're looking into this program. Of course, living in a dorm is not really that comfortable. It was only 2 weeks, so like whatever. The nice thing about the dorms is that we did all have, as far as I could tell, we did all have twin beds. There were no bunk bed situations, so that was pretty comfortable. And they did have curtains in between the beds, so it's like you kind of had your own room, which actually is a lot nicer than some other dorms. But with that, the bathroom situation that I had going on was like not great. It felt like the bathrooms in my wing, there were two separate dorm situations, so there was like a more modern wing, I guess, a more modern dorm with modern bathrooms, and then there was kind of like the outpost dorms and bathrooms, which is where I was staying. But honestly, I did choose that like less modern, less nice dorm because it seemed like it was kind of farther away from like the dining room and some of the classrooms. I felt like it was a little more tranquil, and in the end it was. Apparently the people in the other dorm, they had like a rooster next door and like a dog that barked all night, so I didn't have any of that. Okay, I'll just say that. So I mean, pros and cons with everything, but the section I was in, the bathrooms always seemed to be out of order. Like there were 2 stalls, I think, for like 15, no, there were 3 stalls that I could see. Maybe there were more, some were hiding, but there were 3 bathroom stalls for the 15 people who were staying there. And yeah, like within the first few days, like 2 were out of commission. And small town, I don't know the logistics, maybe they couldn't get a plumber or whatever, but it was kind of like always out of order. Took a while to get fixed. So whatever, dorm living, you live with it, right? You know what you're getting into. But if you don't love dorms, like just know that it wasn't the nicest setup. Along with that, I think it's very common in France in general that when you go stay at a place, you have to bring your own sheets and towels. So I was ready for dorm life with my own towel. I had my shower, flip-flops, everything. I'm very used to staying in dorms, but I was not ready for the fact that I had to bring my own sheets. I just found out in an email the week before, which coming from the US is kind of annoying. I tried to pack light, and so basically at the last minute I had to scramble to find a sleeping bag. I had to go out and buy a sleeping bag to take to the dorm with me. Luckily, once I got there, they did have extra blankets, so like I wasn't cold, but it was like just an extra thing that I had to do as a foreigner. Was very inconvenient. But I'm sure for the people who were local and like they drove their own cars there, like I'm sure it wasn't a big deal. But for me, it wasn't a big deal, but it was a deal, you know? Next, if you were following my live updates at the time from my Instagram account at @HellaBasque, you already know, you already saw it. I thought the food was awful. I think maybe my expectations were way too high because I've been to that part of the Basque Country. I've been going to visit my whole life every few years, and I've had amazing food there. And so it was really disappointing that the food was not great. I think the program got enough complaints in the first week that there was like a slight improvement in the second week, in that they added more meat in the second week, because literally the first week, like I was going hungry. So it was just like the quality of the food was not great, but also the quantities were not enough for the amount of people there. So the first week I was eating like 5 slices of bread at lunch and like 5 slices of bread at dinner just to like bulk up my meal, just because there literally wasn't enough food. There was enough food, everyone got to eat, but I felt like there wasn't enough food for everyone to feel satisfied. And the thing is, this town is very small. Urepel doesn't have a supermarket or anything where I could like go out and get snacks. So that aspect from someone who did not have a car was like it was a real downer for a lot of people, but for me especially. At least in between the 2 weeks, I hightailed it out of there. I spent the weekend in Bayona, which is like the big city, closest big city, I guess. And there I stocked up on snacks, and so I came back in the second week a little better prepared for the food situation. But yeah, it was a little rough. Let's just say that. Other things that were to me, but also I think a little less really in control of the program, were there was a lot of French being spoken, which I mean wasn't terrible for me because I do speak French, I do understand French, but you know, I was really going to have like a full Basque immersion experience, and a lot of my classmates were speaking French to each other, and a lot of the I don't know, there were a lot of translations in class. So my teacher was really good about like speaking Basque, but he would do a lot of translating, or a lot of the activities were translating from French to Basque or from Basque to French, which I'm sure my classmates got a lot out of that, but I didn't, because I speak French fluently, but since I've never lived in France, my vocabulary is not that great. So half the time I was like translating the French word that he translated from Basque to English just to try to keep up. And so it was a little like, not great. But I think for the other students, it was probably really working for them. Another thing, because it was a small program, our level, we only had one teacher. So we were with one teacher for the whole 6 hours a day, every day. And my teacher was great. Don't get me wrong. He was really great. But also because of that format, I think your instructional experience in this program would really depend on the teacher you get. And I feel like the things that I learned were like really whatever my teacher wanted us to know. I didn't get the vibe that there was like a curriculum we were following. Maybe there was, but it just kind of felt, I don't know, loosey-goosey. I don't know. My teacher liked to talk a lot, so sometimes it felt like we were just sitting there listening to him ramble about different topics, and I was like, what is the actual lesson plan for today? So yeah. So just to know that, you know, you have one teacher and that's it. You're one little cozy family for 2 weeks. Other things, the town itself, like I was saying, there's no supermarket. So since it's such a small town, there really like aren't many amenities for like your off time. Like there was a small restaurant and cafe next door to where our boarding school was. And so on breaks, I would go with my classmates to the cafe to have a coffee break, whatever. But half the time the place was closed because the owner was just off and doing other things, because that's how small town living is like. And coming from a big city, I'm just not used to that. And since I didn't have a car, it was kind of, I don't know, hard when you're hungry and there's nowhere to go buy snacks. And you just gotta wait till mealtime and hope that it's good enough. So just little things like that. As a foreigner, of course, enrollment wasn't the easiest. I went on the website for the program, so I think I just Googled like Barnetegi, which is the name of a Basque boarding school. Urepel, because I knew of the town already, and so it took me to the website, which I have linked below if you want to know more official information about this program. Yeah, and so I think I just filled out like their form. They sent me an email with their dates, and it was kind of just an email back and forth in French. Yeah, we did the exchange in French, and yeah, so nothing was really confirmed until the week before, because enrollment all depended on how many students they had for which dates and if they had enough students to make it worth it. So it was a little last minute, and I did have to spend a €100 deposit in advance to secure my spot. So coming from the US, that was kind of just a hassle with like bank transfers and fees and trying to figure that out. So yeah, and then once I got there, payment was not super easy either. I just assumed, silly me, I thought we were in the 21st century, that I could just go and pay the rest of my balance by card once I was there. But nope, this small program did not have that option. I was told that I had to initiate another bank transfer from my American bank account. So it was like online banking, trying to figure that out. So it wasn't the easiest, but hey, we got it all done. Last but not least, this is very personal and very specific to me as somebody who posts on social media a lot. The first week, well, actually throughout my entire time there, I was posting on Instagram stories and in my gallery kind of some of the things I liked about the program, things I didn't like about the program. By the end of the first week, the director of the program, or the administrator, whoever was organizing it, pulled me aside, and well, she was talking to me in Basque, so I don't know if I 100% understood what she was saying to me, but pretty much she was saying that she saw my Instagram, she didn't want me to be posting negatively about the program. This is not a 5-star hotel. I know the food is bad, but you really shouldn't be posting bad stuff. It's giving a bad impression of this program, and you really shouldn't be posting pictures and videos of people without their permission, which is like fair. But I just came away from the exchange feeling like she could have, I don't know, handled it a little more professionally. It felt really condescending. She was lecturing me about how like, this is not like the US. We don't have the same culture. It's like not acceptable for you to be doing this. From what I understood, again, maybe I didn't understand the tone or the vibe because again, this was all in Basque and I'm at a beginner level. So like, I get what she was saying, but I felt like she could have done it with a lot less of a lecture. Like, I'm not a kid, and you know, she could have just said, hey, like, could you please ask people's permission before you post pictures and videos of them? Like, fair. But also there were other people in the program who were taking pictures and videos of people and the food without asking anyone anything, and I don't seem to know of it being a big deal for anybody else. So I don't really know what to say about that. I just felt like she could have handled it a little better. Like, it came across as really condescending and really like lectury, when like, if she just had a request to make of me, she could have just like asked me directly, like without the whole speech about how this is not America. But whatever. Again, that was just personal to me, and it was my opinion, and still is, that if you don't want people posting about your bad food on the internet, then maybe you should not have bad food for people to post about. But maybe that was just specific to the 10 days I was there. I'm not trying to say this is how it always is. It's just, this was my experience when I went. All right, so I think that's enough dislikes about the program. In conclusion, I think the number one question that I get from people who are curious about doing a Basque boarding school experience is, would I recommend this program? And specifically, would I recommend this program for Americans or anyone else from the Basque diaspora all over the world who's looking to learn Basque? Should you go to the Basque Country and do this specific program? Do I recommend it? Again, I'm not sponsored by anyone. These are just my thoughts and opinions. I would only recommend this specific Barnetegi experience in Urepel depending on who you are and what your goals are. So if you're trying to learn Basque from Baxenafarroa, this Basque province, if you're trying to learn Basque that's more Iparralde Basque, because most of the students at this school were living in Iparralde, the French Basque Country. If you're trying to learn that type of Basque, I 100% recommend this program. If that is your goal, if that is your only goal, I definitely think it was valuable for that. I did learn a lot of local words that I was able to come back to the US and try out on my dad and find out, hey, they work. He understands me and this is the way he talks too. So if that's your goal, I recommend this program. If you are like me, just an American or a foreigner, someone who does not live in the Basque Country, trying to learn Basque, I would not recommend this program. I think there might be other Basque language programs out there in the Basque Country that have maybe better value for your money, because this one was on the more expensive end of Basque summer intensive language courses. It was, as a foreigner, really kind of a pain in the butt to get to and get out of this village. The whole like wiring money thing, it just added extra steps, extra stress during my trip, and bank fees, and you know, on top of the exchange rates, you know. So I think yeah, it wasn't great for those reasons, but also if you're just trying to learn Basque, like Basque in general, that you'll be able to speak or write, I just did text fingers, write to other Basque speakers and have the highest likelihood of people understanding the Basque that you learn. If you're just trying to learn like a standardized Basque as a baseline, I would definitely go somewhere else, because this program was not really standardized Basque. At least in the class I was doing, like we were learning and doing exercises in standardized Basque, but like all of the speaking during meal times and outside of class, and even my teacher's speech during class, it was all like standardized Basque, but with like local vocabulary that like outside of that region, like I could tell you, people don't understand those words. Like when I was in Gipuzkoa and I would like, you know, slip into some words that I learned from my dad, like no one knew what the heck I was saying. So if you're just trying to learn standardized Basque, and most Basque speakers in the Basque Country are in Egualde, the southern Basque Country, so Euskadi and Nafarroa. So since most Basque speakers are down there, I think most of the Basque that you'll come across as a new Basque speaker is from over there. So if you don't have like a personal connection, a family connection, like some reason to want to learn specifically these like Northern Basque dialects, and you're just trying to learn like a standard uniform Basque, Euskara batua, definitely I don't recommend this program because that's not what was going on there. I would say it'd be better for you to go to boarding school in the southern Basque Country, Iparralde. I don't know how the Basque language programs are in Nafarroa because I haven't done any yet, but I think definitely Euskadi would be your best bet. This place in Urepel, I would not recommend it. If you are a foreigner, it was just really inconvenient and also not really focused on standardized Basque. So if you're trying to learn Iparralde, Baxenafarroa Basque, go for it. But if not, I don't recommend this program for all of the reasons I just ranted about in this video. I think you got the message. I guess I'm making this video assuming that you are foreign like me. But if you happen to be watching this video from Iparralde, the northern Basque Country, maybe this program would be right for you because it seemed to be working very well for my classmates, and I think it'd just logistically be so much more convenient if you're local, if you live within driving distance, you have a car, you know, so you can go to the supermarket and get snacks if you're starving, you know. If you have a home where you can go to on the weekends, that was another logistical thing. I had to figure out where I was going to sleep, where I was going to go. Oh, and if you live nearby and have your own sheets and sleeping bags, like, yeah, I think a lot of the like issues that I had probably did not apply to my classmates who were local to the area. So that's pretty much it. If you want to see more of my time there, you can go to my Instagram at Hello Basque. I did post pictures and videos from when I was there, so you can go back in the archives and see what it looked like in Urepel. And again, I have linked in the description below the website to this program if you want to see more about it officially from their website. I'll also link my Instagram so you can just go straight from there. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I do have a part 1 to this series. I did a video kind of halfway after my first week in Urepel, giving you my initial thoughts. So if you want to learn more, you can go back and see what I was saying when I was in the middle of it, because as of recording this video, I am back home. It's over. On top of that, this was the second Basque boarding school I went to this summer. I went to another one in Gipuzkoa to start things off. So you can go back on my channel and watch those videos as well if you like, if you want to see more my thoughts of, you know, a Basque boarding school in Gipuzkoa. And I'm also planning on doing another video to kind of compare and contrast these two boarding schools if you're curious to learn more about how this experience compared to the other one I did. So thank you so much for watching. If you made it through to the end of this video, I appreciate. Let me know in the comments what your interest is in this topic. I feel like this is like super specific, but I wanted to share my experience of this Basque language boarding school if there's anyone out there like me who was curious to try it. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the Hello Basque YouTube channel so you can see all of those videos and more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.